I'm glad to see we all made it safely through the storm. I'd like to turn it over to Barry first, and then we'll get back on schedule, but I think he wants to have Jill come up and...
Yeah, I want Jill to come up, but just first start by thanking all of our county employees and all of our partner agencies for an amazing, response. We certainly didn't get the brunt of the storm, but we did have a lot of storm surge, and including, about 85 dump truck loads of sand out on Johns Pass, up on Gulf Boulevard. So there, it wasn't without, problems, but this storm started with everything from our fire departments doing door tags on mobile home parks, alerting residents, to all of the partner agencies coming together to set up feeding groups and setting up our shelters, and that quickly escalated. We originally were just going to go with 2 community shelters, and then we had to pull the plug that this is going to be, storm surge is going to be more significant, and we had to actually do evacuation zone A, which resulted in 10 shelters. I visited all 10 shelters, and you would just not believe the partnership between the schools and the county staff and volunteers, and just the acts of compassion that our employees showed for the residents that were there. And so it was amazing to watch. The county employees and all the agencies just did a really good job, and we're thankful that we didn't get the brunt of it. But we started with Ian, and all the lessons learned in Ian, those kinks were worked out by and large by this time. So, and part of that is because we were stable in our staff. Each time you lose staff, that adds another element to the learning curve, and that's where mistakes are made. So that stability and emergency management and other places is key to having an effective response. So again, just a kudos to schools, to county staff, and all the partner agencies for assisting in a very well-run response to what could have been a much more difficult situation. So what I wanted to do, because I'm sure you're going to ask about beaches and or what's left of our beaches, but we've been working on this beach nourishment issue for a while, and I wanted Jill to come up and give you kind of a brief explanation of what we're doing in terms of coming together with a policy of how to work with the Corps. And this latest incident's going to test that, because there's 2 different sides. There's the beach nourishment side, and then there's the emergency restoration side, which is what would help restore, the beach damage that we're seeing as a result of this hurricane. So there's 2 different sides, but they're applying the same easement policy to both. And so this is really going to be a test for this policy, as we go forward. But yes, Kelly's on it. They're going to be doing a survey and damage impact of the entire beach, and that'll be forthcoming. But with that, I'll turn it over to Jill and kind of let her outline kind of where we're at.
Thank you, Barry. Good morning, Commissioners. Kelly is actually out on the beach, so that's why she's not here. A great deal has happened since we gave you an overview last month of our issues and policy positions with the Corps as it relates to beach nourishment in our programs, which they have essentially ground to a full stop, including the project that we were ready to go out for bid, which was Treasure Island and Upham and Paso Grill. So lots of has occurred, and obviously, as Barry said, having a hurricane, we hope, will be a helpful thing, but it is severe. The erosion out there is bad. We did a pre-storm survey of all of the beach, and our consultant Apton will be doing a post-storm survey tomorrow. So we're going to have data that'll show the before and the after. But since we were here last, we have retained a subject matter expert that's on the ground in D.C., knows the Corps, knows the policies, and has a meeting tomorrow with headquarters. So we're trying to make sure that consultant has everything they need. And obviously, we have a lot of ongoing advocacy as it relates to our community and our elected officials, and they're all, senators and congressional representatives are up to speed. So we want to make sure that, we're providing whatever information is required. We also are still continuing to pursue a policy through FAC, and I'll be going over there week after next for the policy conference so that we can make sure that we're coordinating whatever the representation for the Florida counties may be. So that's not just us, right? I mean, our guy in DC is us. This is more of a, what are the other counties experiencing? Can we all join together? There's some trepidation, I'll just be blunt. There's some trepidation on the part of some of the counties that have their permits, have their projects ready to go. And so we'll see, but we're going to continue to work that. So we are taking a policy proposal. That'll be on September 14th. Not unlike that, we have a federal legislative approach that is being coordinated primarily through Congresswoman Luna's office. They've been amazing, and we're going to continue to work as it relates to whatever the legislative process might look like at the federal level, understanding that any changes to WRDA, which is the 1986 Act that we're supposed to be following, but the Corps has put, as you know, a lot of policies on top of it. So we hope to have a follow-up strategy after our consultant meets with headquarters in DC tomorrow. So you should know that Barry and Kelly will be working to secure that. We also understand that the Corps will be here on Saturday, so they're going to actually be out there looking at the beaches, and you can be certain we'll be right there with them, as will many of our Barrier Island communities. So that's coming up. Don't have any details on that particular visit yet, but we are told it will be Saturday. And then our action plan, we're anticipating probably another visit to Washington, D.C. in probably late September, early October.
Jill, did you say this Saturday? Because I thought it was scheduled for the 8th.
So this is two separate things. So this Saturday is specifically related to this
storm?
hurricane.
Okay.
We are still currently confirmed for Jacksonville for Commander Booth to be here on Friday, September the 8th. That's at 10 a.m. And Reddington Shores, Town Hall. But we'll see if the storm and their visit this weekend has any impact on their intention to come on the 8th. That'll be.
Indian Rocks Beach, that meeting is?
I think it's is it Reddington Shores?
Hang on, they did move it. It is Indian Shores Town Hall,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Indian Shores.
Indian Shores.
19305 Gulf Boulevard.
Yeah, it was originally going to be in South Treasure Island on Sunset Beach, and quickly it's convinced the Corps that it's going to have quite the turnout. So that's the update. I'm happy to try and answer any questions. Obviously, still lots of moving pieces, and just we want to try and make sure that what we're doing over here doesn't impact us negatively over here. So we're proceeding very carefully.
Could, Commissioner Justice has a question,
Thank you,
please.
Madam Chair. Before the storm, we had planned to do some, I guess we were calling it emergency fill at Paso Grill. Did that get done before the storm?
No.
So are we able to proceed quickly with that since we had it kind of planned in the works already?
Our plan related to using the sand that was going to come from the Grand Canal.
No, he's talking about emergency.
The emergency repair,
So the
yeah.
Paso Grill where the
Well-
walkovers were?
That was going to be, that's under design. So Kelly was in the middle of trying to design it and permit it.
Yeah.
So even for an emergency, you have to have a permit, and it has to be designed. So she was in the process of doing that before this storm, in a couple of spots, not just there.
Okay.
Yeah, a little further north of there as well. Paso Grill is easier because all of that frontage is owned by the public. It's owned by the city of St. Pete Beach. So we've got a good partner, and we don't need easements for that area. So that's the plan.
Oh, I'm so sorry. For some reason, I don't see you this morning. Your table's been pushed back. Commissioner Eggers.
Thank you. Yeah, Commissioner Latvala beat you to it, reminding me of the microphone. Just a few things. So we said we did a pre-storm inventory of our beaches.
Survey.
Do we do any flyover on the beaches? Okay, so we're going to do one of those
Yes.
afterwards too. That's awesome. It seems to me, based on the limited knowledge that I have, that the issues that we were having before was the renourishment about putting sand on areas that really weren't anybody's property, but they still needed the easements.
Yes, sir.
Are some of the damages that we've seen already gotten into the easement areas themselves?
Yes.
The property owners' property themselves?
There
Very
are
close.
areas where the dunes, okay, which we were never going to put sand on, the dunes are gone,
Okay.
Yeah.
okay? So there's significant damage, and that's what they've got to get. You know, maybe we can get with the sheriff's office. They did flyovers of the entire beach. If we can get that video, we'll send that to you so you can kind of see. But yeah, there's
So some of those areas where they are going to want sand on their property, it's a whole different discussion for that.
it may be,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. So these folks at the city, other counties that have their projects already permitted, it may create problems. Or
Yeah, so we
not getting them on board with us.
Right, that's correct. So we also have retained someone to work those issues for us and continue to talk with those counties and understand where others are at.
We brought on a consultant that used to be a manager, and so is very familiar with beach nourishment issues and things, because trying to herd the cats of 10 other counties, I didn't want to add that to Kelly's secondary duties. You know, I mean, that's a lot. And so their person's not to be really an expert, but to coordinate this effort, you know, work with the consultants, bring them together, work with FAC to help manage this bigger effort. And so that's what their duties.
So they don't have any problems perhaps this time, but the next project they have,
Correct.
then they're going to have the
Correct.
same problems that some of us are having now, so.
We're trying to convince them of that, but the problem is when you have a permit in
Yeah.
hand, you don't want to rock the boat, you know. and
So they can take your permit back too, huh? They can
they're
do all-
that's what
they
they're
can do all
Just like they
concerned
did
about.
for us,
They're
you know,
concerned that those
they're
coral
concerned what
reinvest,
happened to us will
you know,
happen to
an
them.
existing project.
And as far as
did it
this
to us.
Saturday's meeting goes, I'm assuming that staff will be out there with them,
It's my understanding.
not us.
That's my understanding.
and that
I'm
the
sure
other
that
meeting-
we'll get you additional information.
We got a text
We
from
need
Kelly
you.
on that right before this meeting. We'll find out, and contact you if it's,
Well, anytime we
for
can
that.
provide some unity of
Yes.
county, so the meeting a week from Friday, that we've been told about, and that's a different thing altogether.
That's correct. And we'll see if it is still going to take place on the 8th,
Thanks, appreciate it.
based on what happened this week.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
To Commissioner Eggers' point, if I might just add, I do think, given all the issues that we've had with regard to beach renourishment, that for those of us that could make it, it would be important for, as Commissioner Eggers said, a show of force,
Yeah.
for lack of a better word, if we were able to be there. And before you go on, Jill, David, is it possible for you to just push your table a little kitty corner? I can't see you at all, and when you're talking, it sounds like you're talking right to Commissioner Peters' head. Thank you
Yes,
so
ma'am.
much. Okay, yeah, but I can see him. Okay,
Now I can see him.
there you go.
So we'll keep tracking on those following pieces and keep you updated as things continue
Thank
to
you.
evolve.
Enjoy your time, Jill.
Okay, yeah, we're going to get Jill out of here. She's supposed to be on vacation. She's got to drive to wherever, North Carolina, so, all right. Okay, so that was the first item. We just kind of wanted to walk through that. More to come on that. Just trust that we'll work with you, with our delegation to create the most appropriate program going forward. And we really want it to be a focused program with specific outcomes that are predictable. And I think we'll know more. We've been waiting on this, and they've been working that, but we'll know more after their meeting with the Corps. So the next item up, which is kind of related, is the state condo inspection program. And so Kevin's going to come forward and provide an update on how we're approaching implementation of this statute.
Thanks, Barry, and good morning, Madam Chair, fellow commissioners. Kevin McAndrew, Director, BDRS. So starting with a brief history of the statute, following the Champlain Tower South collapse in Surfside, which occurred on June 24th, 2021, Senate Bill 4D was adopted in special session and signed into law on May 26th, 2022. That bill was adopted and signed less than 1 year after that incident. This statute regulating structural inspections of condominiums and residential cooperatives over 3 stories of a certain age and requiring financial reserves. The bill is specifically aimed at preventing another catastrophic incident that occurred at Surfside. And when the bill was adopted in that short period of time, obviously the urgency was there to get something online. The bill and the statute included numerous cues and signals that this statute would be updated. Probably one of the most prominent of those indicators was the requirement in the statute that the Florida Building Commission would be required to provide a written report on recommendations to the governor by December 31st, 2022. And the statute in its first form raised a lot of concerns, a lot of issues, starting with the issue of capacity. In Florida, at the time that this bill came online, there was 28,000 condominium associations, approximately 1.5 million condominium units. Almost 2/3 of those are over 30 years old and would fall into qualifying for this type of inspection. So there was a question, how are the qualified engineers and architects going to be able to handle all of these inspections? So this was one of the main issues that was raised. There was the issue of standardization. The statute lacks any kind of specificity as to the exact extent of the inspections. So this was another issue raised. There were issues raised with regard to the timing and the duration of the different deliverables within the statute. And then there were also issues related to enforcement and the general administration of this bill. And I'll touch upon this on a subsequent slide, but even the updated version, Senate Bill 154, staff still has some concerns with gaps and deficiencies in the bill, which I'll address. But as for the reason of the fluidity of this statute moving forward, that staff has been entirely just in a monitoring mode to understand what other municipalities are doing and to see where 154 landed to come back before you to provide our recommendations. On June 9th of this year, 2023, Governor DeSantis signed Senate Bill 154. There's 2 main components to the statute. One is milestone inspections. This is the structural inspections of buildings. The second component is referred to as Structural Integrity Reserve Studies, the acronym SIRS. And this side of the statute has to do with a study that looks at the primary structural and components of a building, including roofs, electrical systems, fire protection, and it specifically looks at the life expectancy of those components within a building and assigns a dollar value to those so that when the life expectancy and the life cycle of one of these components comes to be, that those funds would be in place. And this is really addressing what has long been a challenge with condominium associations. Everybody knows it's called deferred maintenance, and the issue of trying to delay special assessments. And so this side of the statute addresses that. An important distinction, the milestone inspections, which is the structural inspection, that enforcement and administration lies with the local enforcement agency. That's the building division within BDRS. The second component that I spoke about, the SIRS, the Structural Integrity Reserve Studies, that does not lie with us. That is administered and delegated to the Division of Florida Condominiums, Timeshares, and Mobile Homes within the Department of Business and Professional Regulations. So an important distinction as to how the two pieces of this statute are administered. A snapshot of the recent updates within the statute, who and when the statute applies to residential condominiums and residential co-ops, 3 stories and higher, 30 years and older, having reached 30 years before July 1, 2022, and when the initial Phase 1 milestone inspection is due by December 31st, 2024, and every 10 years thereafter. Now, there are some provisions in this latest update through Senate Bill 154 that allows the option for a local enforcement agency, again, that would be us, BDRS, to determine if milestone inspections should be required at 25 years based on local circumstances. An example of that might be proximity to the shoreline, inundation of salt waters. Staff at this time is not recommending any deviation from the 30-year threshold that's in the state statute. And that is principally due to the fact that the Florida Building Commission study that was just completed last year did not recommend at this time going to the 25-year. There just has not been enough evidence and study to support this. So staff is not suggesting any deviation from the 30-year. There also are provisions when special circumstances might arise with the condominium association that the local enforcement agency can extend the milestone inspections. And just to kind of give a little bit of a better picture of the milestone inspections and who can perform them, I discussed the initial concern of capacity. This updated statute allows now for a team of consultants, as long as they're under the leadership of a registered architect or a qualified professional engineer, meaning that a team could have a qualified contractor, construction manager that's in the building trade that could support the study, again, in an effort to address the capacity issue. A quick overview, the Phase 1 report and inspection is a visual inspection that is performed by a qualified team that looks to document whether there is what's referred to as substantial structural deterioration. And if so, if that occurs in the Phase 1 report, a Phase 2 report is required. A Phase 2 report is a much more comprehensive, intensive study. It could include what's referred to invasive testing, where there could be concrete cores, other types of testing that would then, in fact, validate whether or not there actually is remedial work needing to be done. If the Phase 2 report documents that there is substantial structural deterioration, the condominium association then is required to have the qualified consultants prepare the requisite remedial plans, permit those, and move forward with the remediation work.
But just, Kevin, real quick, that right there, though, is where the statute comes up shy, because there's no way to enforce them to do that other than to, what, condemn the building if you deem it unsafe?
I'm going to address that a little bit further right on this next slide.
Okay.
But that's still, yes, one of our main concerns. So how this would start from the outset of the sequence of the Phase 1 and Phase 2, BDRS as the local enforcement agency would send a written notification to the condominiums that qualify, again, 3 stories and more, over 30 years. And from that notice, the condominiums associations or co-ops would have 180 days to complete the Phase 1 report. If a Phase 2 is required, the statute as it reads today says a progress report due within 180 days of the Phase 1, including a timeline for completion of the Phase 2 report. This is one of our concerns right there. It's open-ended, meaning that if a Phase 2 report is required, there only needs to be a progress update within 180 days and a schedule, but there's no definitive deliverable on that. So it really leaves a lot to be desired as far as having a high degree of confidence as to when that Phase 2 report will in fact be submitted. Another provision in the statute that is of concern has to do with if there is remedial work documented and validated in the Phase 2, the commencement of that remedial work does not have to begin for 1 year, 365 days. We have concern about that duration. A year is a long time if there's a sense of urgency to move forward with remedial structural work. So those are the two provisions that really jump out to staff at this point in time. There is a provision in this update similar to the first run, which is that the Florida Building Commission has been directed by December 31st, 2024, to create a rule within the Florida Building Code that will address the issues of standardization of inspections, as well as record maintenance and reporting forms that will have to be included. So at this point in time, there's still fluidity in the statute that we will not know until the end of 2024 whether or not this next update from the Florida Building Commission in fact addresses some of these concerns we have. It's for that reason that we know there's more coming, that staff at this point in time is not recommending deviating from the statute. Keeping in place and administering what is in place exactly in the statute as it is today, where staff is recommending a limited scope ordinance to effectively administer this statute moving forward. What this ordinance would also do would give us flexibility in the future. If we still feel there's concerns, we can bring this back to you. The ordinance would give us a mechanism to introduce other provisions to tighten up areas if there's still concern.
So, yeah, Commissioners, remember this will be for the unincorporated areas. Now, will you also require a separate ordinance from contract communities?
So that's our next slide.
Hold on a second. Commissioner Scott has a question or a comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Curious, what have other counties done up until this point?
So we've been speaking with other communities. As of right now, almost every community has been laying back in a monitoring mode again, just as Pinellas has, as we have, because of the change in the fluidity. We have spoken to building officials with the city of St. Petersburg. They are intending on moving forward with an ordinance. We have spoken with the building official of the city of Tampa. They are intending to move forward with an ordinance. We've spoken to the building officials with the city of Clearwater. At this point in time, there's no indication that they'll not go forward with an ordinance. So somewhat of a mixed picture, but we're still staying closely in touch. In fact, there was a Suncoast building official meeting this week that was to have occurred on Tuesday. I was hoping to have a more current update. That obviously didn't happen. So we're still staying close to all of the other communities and building officials to have the latest update. When you want to understand what it looks like today, this statute for Pinellas County. The slide before you shows that today, in the unincorporated Pinellas County, we have approximately 189 qualifying residential condominium and cooperatives that are over 30 years that would have to have their Phase 1 inspection and report completed by December 31st, 2024. Barry referenced that we serve as the building official through interlocals for 6 communities within Pinellas County. They're listed up on the slide: the Bel Airs, Indian Rocks Beach, Safety Harbor, and Oldsmar. There's another 61 condominiums that would be added to the 89 that would be required under this first period of the Phase 1, so that we'd be talking about 250. You can note on the slide that our intention is that those interlocal agreements would be amended to include reference to this statute with those 6 communities.
Hold on one second, please. Commissioner Justice.
Thank you. Kevin, the number on there, is that each complex, or if a complex has multiple associations within the complex, is that each association their own little building? Or I'm thinking of the 5 towns of the world that have, maybe 15 different buildings, 15 different associations. Just curious.
This is the association. There could be multiple buildings that represent a condominium association, which is typically the case.
Right, yeah, the large ones have, each building is their own association.
Yes.
Okay.
So each building, though, great question, each building within that association would be required to have that separate report.
Yep, thank you.
Anyone else at the moment? Kevin, please continue.
Sure. So what we've done to date, steps completed. I mentioned we've been in monitoring mode. I've discussed that we've been in regular communication with our adjacent communities on this. On the technology side, we have been preparing for this statute. We've created an initial database, a GIS build-out. We want to automate this to the greatest extent in moving forward. And what we've done also is we've updated our website. We've had questions on a rolling basis, understandably, from condominium associations. What's happening? What's the county doing? So now we have a rolling update on our website to keep all parties updated as to exactly where we are and where we're going to be going. As of last fall, we did send out an initial informational letter to all of the condominiums that we had within our database, letting them know that this would be moving forward, subject to bringing this before you, and as to whether or not there would be an ordinance. So we're adding that to the website as necessary to provide the relevant updates. And final slide, as I had mentioned, staff is recommending that we move forward with a limited scope ordinance, not deviating from the state statute at this point in time, but strictly to support the administration and enforcement of this statute. Some of the provisions of that would include a self-registration for qualifying condominium and associations and co-ops. We don't want to miss. We're doing our best to identify all of these, but DBPR has an inventory. All of the condominium associations are well aware of this statute. We want to bring them into the participation with the self-registration provision. We want to have a nominal fee associated with the filing of the report and the overall administration and repository requirements associated with the provision. And as I mentioned, we want to automate this to the best we can, so that when a report is filed, if a Phase 2 is required, we'll send out a notice automatically, giving ample time to those condominiums so that they can make sure they meet the requirements for a Phase 2 submission. We'll look to do that through every step of the program as we move forward.
Any questions? Commissioner Eggers?
I'm only raising my hand so that we don't move on yet, because I'm still trying to get all this in, because there is so much baked into this presentation in terms of next steps. So getting an ordinance together that provides us that platform, if you will, to address changes as we go forward. Milestone inspections, you started talking about contractors, architects. Is there going to be defined who has to be a part of that team?
So that's currently clarified in the statute. Again, ultimately, that report has to be signed by a registered architect or professional engineer. What the statute allows is a team to support that engineer or architect. I had mentioned earlier, it could be a construction manager, it could be a structural contractor to help relieve the capacity concerns of being able to handle this workload.
So that's going to be important, and then who gets involved in the second phase. And I'll just be most curious down the road how they actually get into inspecting these buildings, this internal infrastructure that you don't see. Within concrete covered, facilities. So it's going to be really interesting to see how in depth they can go. We have you said we have 815 as of today.
Well, that would be all-out condominiums as far as the first initial qualifying condominiums under the statute is 189 in the unincorporated. Yeah, and just,
189 in the unincorporated area.
yes.
No, there's 815 in the county.
Well, that's
countywide, at least according to
that's countywide. I can go back to that.
There's just your inventory sheet that you had up there.
It is. That's countywide is correct. I'll go back to that slide. That includes all of the other communities within Pinellas County. Again, we've highlighted just in blue the communities in which we have interlocal agreements. And Commissioner Eggers, the point you made about curious to know how they'll perform the studies, that's the piece that will be forthcoming by the Florida Building Commission by December 31st, 2024. That's the standardization and uniformity of the testing that is lacking today. That's what's going to be incorporated into the Florida Building Code and bring a greater degree of consistency to how the inspections are performed at all of these buildings.
Yeah, because there's going to need to be some, obviously, degree of comfort for these folks that are living in these condominiums, because ultimately, they're going to pay for it. And so at the very least, they better be getting a high sense of confidence that what they're paying for is actually giving them security or safety. So I'll be curious how this works out, because you're talking about those with 30 years or over. What if you have 20 years or 15 years? Should you start building reserves at that point? There's no edict on that probably in the state statute that it tells.
Well, you're into the other side of the statute, but those condominium associations, again, are going to be subject to the provisions of the structural integrity reserves. That's a different component. I tried to give a real quick overview of that. That's basically putting the monies aside to address these key components of a building when their life expectancy is fulfilled.
And I think those kinds of things need to be looked at when they start building the new building. Because what you're seeing now, and I've talked to several people who own condos that are having roof issues, and that's an assessment. And if you haven't been getting those reserves up, that changes their monthly payment from a normal $300 to like $800 to try to get that reserve up. These kind of reserves that you're talking about setting aside for remediation possibility is huge. And you talk about impact on value to these condos. If you're not setting aside funds as you go,
Correct.
it's going to be astronomical. I mean, I don't know how.
And commissioners, I mean, the key to that is, what do you do if they don't? Okay? and you've seen that not in our area, but in other areas where they had to condemn buildings. Well, we did have one locally, right, where they condemn a building. That's your only, I mean, from a building official standpoint, that's the only tool they have.
Bayfront Towers, I mean,
Correct.
we can watch that. Bayfront Towers just went through this process. It's about $45 million worth of repairs is needed. And the interesting part about all of that is Bayfront Towers just underwent a huge rehab because that area was cornered off for a while with them trying to restore the structural integrity of that building. And then if they don't pay, if they don't all chip into the fund for the 45 million, it says that they will be evicted from the towers.
Unbelievable.
So it's, I mean, it's good for the safety.
Yeah. Oh,
But
no, no.
it's
It's a huge,
yeah,
it's a
so
huge-
it'll be good for us to maybe to look at or follow their process. I don't know if there's another one, but I know that one has occurred as a result of the Champlain condos in South Florida that went. And for Bayfront Towers, it was actually the residents that asked for the inspection. Well, not the residents, the owners that asked for the inspection. And
I mean, I
that's-
feel bad for current owners that have to.
Yeah.
And then, but notifying future owners that, we're 15 years into a condominium association, and oh, by the way, if you buy this, there's some notification on real estate contracts.
Yeah.
Has to be.
That's all in the statute. The
But
statute is
that's the
very
reason we're waiting for the
clear.
report in 2024. I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of these things, they know that those issues addressed. We'll be interested to see how they try to address these in that final report.
And that issue that Commissioner Eggers just mentioned, Barry, is in fact addressed now, the requirements of notification to any prospective purchaser. All reports that come in have to be disseminated to every single unit owner. So there's a lot baked into this, as far as communication and transparency to anybody that's a current owner as well as prospective future owners.
Yeah, I hope that we can, when we talk to our legislators this year, that at least we can bring up some of those two concerns, primary concerns you have with the statute in terms of open-ended. I think it's important, at least they understand as we're going along here, that just keep that in mind when you start talking about it, because that's a big deal. Kind of an open-ended, well, get it fixed, but, whenever.
It's also a
Absolutely.
big deal, if I might just add in another quagmire that's on the surface of our homeowners right now, is that, when you put a new roof on your house, the roofer is going to tell you that comes with a 25 or 30-year lifetime warranty. Guess what? If you try to sell your house and you're 7 to 10 years into the life of the new roof, you got to put a new roof on in order to get a building inspection done and to sell your home. And that was a personal nightmare that we lived through 3 years ago when we sold our home that we had built brand new and had a new roof put on, thinking that surely this was going to be sufficient for as long as we lived there. Didn't work out that way. We had to put on a new roof before we could sell our house. Did not make me happy at all.
So when we get the final report, if there are gaps, we do have the ability to add additional regulation ourselves, okay? But we're from a staff standpoint, we're really wanting to wait to where it's consistent statewide. But I will tell you, Eve's here. I mean, from a safety standpoint, she, raises concerns, and that's her job, to raise those concerns for the safety of our residents. And so we've held off on doing that purposely, but that's a risk. But we're trying to wait to be consistent statewide, but we do have the ability to address some of these gaps if the state fails to do so.
Just in closing, we would like to bring back this ordinance ideally later this fall, because we have to work backwards from the December 31st, 2024 date, and don't really want to press up against that 180-day period. So we'd like to get this online as early as possible within 2024. So again, we're not pressing up against that duration.
Just one final comment, and that is that, I hear you talking to the city of St. Petersburg and Tampa and then Clearwater, but in our county, obviously, we have 22 other cities. many small cities that don't have the capabilities. So I just want to make sure that we're bringing them along in the discussion. I don't know how each of them are going to deal with it and how much each of them would say, well, what's it going to take for the county to do this part of it? And it is a database issue about, getting the inventory, tracking it, making sure that it's being done. So I just want to make sure that if we're talking about safety in our county, that we're bringing everybody along.
We do have a building officials, that they do come together as a group, but they have their own inspection program. So, either they're contracted with us or each city has their own inspection program for buildings, for permits, for anything that they do right
I know,
now.
but this is different. This is different.
It is and it isn't, because we don't have the capacity either, except
Oh, I
to bring on
understand.
resources.
I'm not saying we should take it on
Okay.
financially necessarily, but I just want to make sure that somebody's taking it on, because this is a big deal.
Well, the building officials do meet together.
Yep. In fact, we just contractor licensing just hosted a building officials roundtable 2 weeks ago. We went around the table to see what Largo was doing, to see what St. Pete Beach was doing. So we are in communication with all the municipalities.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that, Kevin.
Commissioner Scott and then Commissioner Justice.
Are there enough architects and structural engineers in the county to get all these done by end of next year?
We don't know. This is, again, this is where
you go.
the statute tried to bring some degree of flexibility with others participating in this, but this is new territory.
Hold on just a second, Commissioner.
That's okay, she can go ahead.
Oh, that's why I
If you wanted to
pointed-
jump on that point.
Oh, I was just going to say, the interesting part of that is because Citizens now is required to pick up so many insurers after 2 companies left, they're now requiring all of the persons who have insurance with Citizens have an inspection. Guess what? We don't have enough inspectors. So anyway, I'm
So
sorry.
hence is the difference between the legislature and the real world when it all kicks in, and unintended consequences, in my opinion. Commissioner Justice.
Thank you. And kind of to Commissioner Egger's point, my question was, we talked about how we could do the 25 versus a 30-year on the, but that was my question is, and you kind of alluded to the end of how much of this is straight, we're just taking exactly what the statute says versus how much we're interpreting or adding on.
We're implementing the statute as
Okay.
it is.
And I think that's important as we're talking to residents, and maybe I just have a little reminder from a couple years ago, but when the state says something and then we implement it, when they come yelling at us
Yeah.
about we're simply doing what the state law requires. But to Commissioner Egger's point, if we come up with this ordinance to implement it, to share that with the cities
Yeah,
so that
absolutely.
they don't have to go through all of this, because they don't have the staff power to create that ordinance. And then just a non-architect question was, do you know what the magic 3 stories, what that, 3 stories versus 4 stories, do you have any of what the magic level of that as far as structural engineering?
No, I don't have a simple explanation other than we know that, again, construction details change once you're 3 stories and above.
Okay. Thank you very much.
We good over here? Yep, okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next, Commissioners, Kevin's going to come up quickly, cover our strategic plan update, make sure we're aligned with the feedback that we received from you, and see if we're good to go with implementation.
Good morning, Kevin Knutson, Assistant County
Morning.
Administrator. Nice to see you. Yeah, we did do a full presentation. Aubrey came up here last month and gave you a presentation of the strategic plan. We reached back out to you afterwards, and we did get a little bit of feedback that gave us a question, so I wanted to run this by you real quick. This is the vision, mission, and key results that we were proposing. We did get some feedback on a mission option. So our recommendation was meeting the needs and concerns of the community today and tomorrow. And we did get an idea to do one that says Pinellas County government is committed to public service strategies that meet the community's needs and concerns today and tomorrow. Very similar. Both of them give us the same power to embolden our staff to make decisions that look at what the future is going to mean. Now, don't just do it for today, but think about what it's going to mean in the future and make sure that we're meeting those needs and concerns. So they're both good, and staff supports both of them, but we were wanting to know what you all would want us to use as the mission statement. So any comments or feedback would be really helpful.
Commissioner Scott?
I think short and sweet's better. I go with option A.
Short and sweet is what I heard. Anyone else?
I was just curious if Eggers is the one that came up with option B after option A was presented. I like short and sweet, but I mean, if y'all like B, I'm fine with that too.
I heard
Anybody else?
everybody say
You?
A. All right, there you go.
A is fine as long as it doesn't have any words that, set people off.
All right. And next up, Commissioners, is the reason we have some guests in the audience and talking about our plan for our headquarters building. So, Kevin?
Well,
We're going to have our consultant here, but...
Yes. That was the first thing I was going to say is our consultant apologizes for not being here. They were unable to get flights into the area yesterday because of the storm, but they are watching and they are standing by to help us answer any questions that come up. But I think this is a really good project for us because what we did is we went to CBRE last year and we said, we know we have issues with our buildings. We commissioned a study 2 years ago that looked at it. It was 400 pages of necessary repairs and updates to bring our buildings up to speed and to help us organize for the future. And so we gave them that report, we gave them some initial space planning that we had been doing, and asked them, what is the right path forward for the county? How can we best serve our residents? How can we best be efficient with the use of resources? And how can we best support our staff in doing a good job and being comfortable at work? And so they looked at what all those challenges were, and they identified additional ones, like the fact that it's difficult to get to some of our buildings, that our customers might have large vehicles that we can't accommodate, that finding where the person is that you need to talk to can be a challenge. They looked at the condition and safety through that 400-page report of our buildings to make sure that they really understood what we were facing, and helped look at what the costs were both to stay in our buildings or to do something different, and then give us a recommendation on moving forward. And so what they found is that there's a real opportunity here for us to right-size our buildings and modernize them in a new facility. And their recommendation is that we consider actually building something new rather than stay with what we've got. And there's a couple of key parts to that. The first one is we're only talking about the downtown Clearwater campus. We're not talking about all the other buildings on Starkey Road or Bryan Dairy or North County, South County. All those should stay because we're geographically dispersed. We want to make sure we have access all over. But if you come to downtown, we have a number of different buildings with a number of different functions where our staff really can't see and talk to each other and where customers have to go to get their services. And so what they were looking at is how can we take the use of that square footage and make it more efficient? We currently have about 568,000 square feet in downtown Clearwater. Well, how much do we really need? They went through a full study and came back to us and said, looking at your staffing and the way you do business today, you only need about 330,000 square feet. That's a 40% reduction in space. And there's a lot of cost associated with that. We spend $4 million a year right now maintaining these buildings. If we were to move to something that much smaller and that was modern, we could reduce that in half. The cost of the building's upgrades is about $146 million for that report that we were looking at. And so that's a cost that we're going to have to spend sooner or later just to stay where we're at. What they did is they looked at, if you were going to move, if you were going to build something new, what would you need? And they came up with a plan that it would be about 3 buildings, a permit center, a courthouse, and an administration building, and that those would be modern, energy efficient, well-constructed, ready for storms, and put our staff where they need to be so that those relationships and those synergies could work well together. Plus, they wanted us to look at something that would be easier for our customers to get to and easier for people to go through the process of doing business with us. So they came up with a plan for the 3 buildings, and then they said, it's going to cost you somewhere between $270 million and $330 million to construct those over the next few years, given the current conditions and the inflation that we've experienced. But if we did that and moved somewhere else, there's a couple of opportunities. The main one is that the current properties we own today are worth money on the market. And they estimate today, if we were to sell them, they would be somewhere between $60 million and $80 million in revenue back to the county for selling those properties. In addition, once those properties were back on the market and being productive in a tax way, they would generate an additional $130 million over the next 50 years back to the county alone, let alone what goes to the city and to other agencies. And so taking those all into account, what they said is if you build new buildings, your funding gap is going to be somewhere between about $50 million and $130 million. Somewhere in that range is the funding gap, which is less than it's going to cost us to stay. So their recommendation was consider moving. Yes?
Yes.
So that is the 148 million in deferred maintenance and the 60 to 80 million of sale price of downtown property. When you combine those, you got about 210 to 230?
Yes. Plus there's future tax revenues that we're going to see that we currently won't.
Yeah, it depends on who we sell
Yes,
them to, right? On tax revenues,
Yes.
which is another discussion, I guess.
Yeah, and their assumption on that is that we wouldn't sell the properties right away and they wouldn't be built on right away. So we wouldn't start to see that revenue for probably close to a decade. But after that, they would become productive and contribute to the general fund.
But the 220, 230 goes towards that 270 to 330.
Yes,
Not including land purchase.
that's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Commissioner. That's the construction cost, does not include land. Yes.
Commissioner Scott?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I may not understand everything that's going into that 263 or 333, but if I just do the math of dividing the square footage into that number, I'm coming up with a lot higher than 317,500 square feet. More like 743,000 square feet. So can you?
We're being very conservative here, and we're assuming that it's going to be a lot higher cost than it would be if we were building today. We built into some future.
So what do you mean, Commissioner? The top number tells you the square footage for the building cost.
Yeah, it's the cost per square foot. Is
263 million?
Yeah, so it's 355 per square foot on that one and 449 per square foot on the other.
And we're going to build 317,500 square feet?
That's correct.
Well, if you divide the 355 into the 263 million, you come up with 743,000. So I'm trying to understand what's going into that 263 number.
I'm going to find that out and get that back to you.
Okay.
Because I do not know off the top of my head.
All right.
I assume there's
If
probably
you
other
take-
factors.
If you take the 317,500 square feet and multiply it by $355 per square foot, it comes up to 112 million on the low side, and on the high side, it comes up to 142 million. So, and now that probably doesn't include the land purchase, but if you add 40 million into that, you're coming up between 150 and 183-ish. So,
Well, the square footage
I'm just
doesn't
not
include
understanding.
parking and things like that. I'll find out for sure what all goes into that and send you an email to everyone so that you'll have that information.
Right.
Right. And I apologize for not knowing the answer to that question.
Commissioner Flowers, did you have a question?
I was just going to say, if the persons are on or listening, can they respond? The individuals who did the calculations?
Joe Lauro, would you mind calling Leanne and see if you can get an answer for that while we're still?
Yeah, if they're on, they should be able to answer.
Yeah, I'm sure if they were standing here, they'd have the answer right for you.
Yeah, that's why I was just, in the opening, somebody said they were gonna be on.
Thank you for suggesting that.
We paying them, let them talk. Okay. Thank you. I just asked if they could get the folks who constructed this. And
So when Joe comes back after talking to our consultant,
Put them on the line.
we'll see if we got that for you.
Thank you.
Great question, though. Now I'm wishing I had sat and made that calculation myself.
Oogie?
So one of the things that's a kind of a good side effect to this is if we were to make this change, all the properties that we currently own in downtown Clearwater would not be needed by the county anymore. And this aerial map shows you the different locations that we currently have and all the buildings that are on them. And what's really nice about our footprint is that it's really centered around where we are today, the courthouse, the communications building, and all the other buildings that we have around us, which means that there's an opportunity to really change the face of downtown Clearwater in the future. And so there's benefits to our customers in service, there's benefit to our employees, there's benefit to our taxpayers, and there could be benefit to the city and residents of Clearwater as well. One of the things we asked them to do, and it's in the full report that I sent to you, is look at each one of the properties that we have and tell us what we could do in terms of density, in terms of use, in terms of different things. And this is how they calculated those tax revenues. So for instance, this is the 315 area, including the old courthouse and the annex. And you'll see that they assumed that the old courthouse would stay. That's a historic property, and we're under the impression that that will stay. But we could build a lot around it and really change the dynamic and put a hotel, put retail, put offices, put residential, all kinds of different uses on these properties. And so when they were doing these calculations, they really dug into what was possible in the future. And so as you look through the report, you'll see a lot of ideas for the types of things that might be possible if we were to do that.
And when they were preparing that, they did that in conjunction with working with the city of Clearwater.
Yes. And we'll continue to do that well into the future. So one of the things we asked them to do was, okay, so if you're going to recommend to us that we move, where should we go? On this map that you see here, the black X is where we are today. And one of the things that they pointed out is that that's not really convenient to most of our residents. And so they did a weighted average of where everybody was and put the population center of the county where that green X is. And I know it's hard to read, but that actually is right north of the corner of Ulmerton and 19. So what we want to do is find a property in that area that would be appropriate for us, that was large enough for us to build on, that would have the access, the transportation, and the visibility to our residents. So that's one of the steps that we're looking at right now. Yes. Okay. The answer from our consultants, and I guessed it right, is that the price per square foot is only for the buildings, and the total price includes structured parking. And as you're probably aware, it's close to $30,000 per parking spot for a structure.
That makes a big difference, commissioners, because the sites that we're looking at, and I don't think Kevin's going to get into the slide, so you could go with ones with structured parking, or depending upon the size of the property, you could do surface parking,
right,
which would then bring those costs down.
And then to Commissioner Scott's point, the overall cost would be significantly less.
Commissioner Eggers?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair. So just as an example, the number that on the high side was 142 million that you talked about. And so that's 200 million less than that. So you're saying what's wrapped up in that additional 200 million is parking garage?
I'd like to go into a lot more detail than just that. That's one of the key drivers.
If that's construction cost, your total project cost is going to be at least 30% more for FF&E and everything. And then, but we're going to come back to you with this, because just off, we don't have the consultants on the line, so I need to hear from them. But it's not all just parking. That's got to be FF&E, total construction cost.
That's why I'd asked.
And parking.
That's what I'd asked her earlier when we met, was that including FF&E?
Yeah.
But even that, I mean, that's a big.
That's a big difference.
It is.
Well, it's double. I mean, it's a little bit more than double, to your point.
And we'll get that breakdown for you. But again, this is as far as we got in planning. What you see up on the screen right now is as far as we got in space planning. So everything that they're estimating is based on a very schematic view of things, not a detailed one.
Yeah, but there should be rationale behind these numbers
I
that you're going to
100%
share
agree
with
with you,
that, with
Commissioner.
us.
Yeah. And we'll provide a detailed breakdown of how those costs were developed and show you what the different costs are so that you have that. This brief explanation is not nearly enough.
I just don't know what to argue with.
Absolutely.
Commissioner, it's a fair question. We're asking you to be able to move forward on the project, and you're saying, well, help back up the numbers that you have. And Unfortunately, we don't have the consultant here
I
to
want
do
to
that.
happily agree or, argue. So-
Well, and we're not asking for approval to spend that money today. What we're saying is.
No, I understand.
Yeah, okay. And if you go back to the report that I sent over, I know it's a large report, but there's a whole section on the building campus ideas, and it has a big spreadsheet in there with all of the cost line items, including, site work, set-asides, a 10% contingency, all the different things that go into that. But we will get that to you right away.
Are you good, Commissioner?
Yes, right now.
Now?
Yeah.
Like I said, we'll get back to you with something by next week so that you have all that information. This is what they were thinking in terms of location of the different organizational pieces, the constitutional officers, the BCC departments, into the 3 different buildings. The relative sizes, they're recommending 3-story buildings for 2 of them and a 2-story building for the other. This is not an exact location of where people would go, it's just the co-locations. These are the functions that need to be near each other in order to be more efficient and effective in delivering services. The development services building is probably the one we want to focus on first, because that's one of our highest needs, is to fix the issues that we're having there. It's about 67,000 square feet that's needed, and it would be something that's very easy to navigate for people. Instead of having to take an elevator and find the right desk, you could walk in and everything you need is right in front of you, and we can help you find the people you need and bring them to you versus us dragging you around the building. And so that's one of the things we really want to focus on. And then we're going to look at the security issues with the courthouse and how that might benefit administration, how those 2 things can work together. So there's a lot of open questions, but those are the next steps. If you think that this is a good direction to go, that's what we're going to start digging into and do the research to come back to you with. Any questions about that?
Commissioner Flowers?
Not necessarily questions, just, and I may have mentioned this when we spoke, but if we have not, I would hope that we would look at a traffic impact study. That Olmerton Road is already a very busy area.
Yep.
So to bring in additional traffic for this particular purpose, I know something is there right now, but when you make a turn and go down into the complex, there are a lot of businesses down in there, because I work down there for Gulf Coast, and Gulf Coast is still there. And then I guess the parking garages just really accelerates the cost to any construction significantly. And so I would hope that when the consultants are looking at this, they're looking at any accelerated costs, because we've seen how, when we plan, this is what the amount is. By the time we get to digging dirt, this is what the cost is. So let's try to look at those accelerators early on.
They did, and we still have to get to the details of the cost, but they were trying to put those up to midpoint of construction, okay? So an estimate on that. This is a space plan, not a site plan. The next piece would be looking at the total cost dependent upon the site specific and the associated cost with all the things that go into the things that you just mentioned. We're trying to get, is this something we want to do? One of the things you asked commissioners early on was, what about renovating and staying where we're at? Well, okay, so we've got a general concept of what it takes to stay where we're at versus moving to a new location and the benefits of doing that. And the benefits of redeveloping, the downtown Clearwater area. So that's really the level of detail that we were trying to get to be able to make a decision on moving to that site plan process, specific details. And you'll have another crack at that apple when we bring that contract, because we still need to justify, those costs associated with going to that more detailed level of design.
And as part of the research we asked them to do, we asked them to look at existing buildings that we could buy and move into.
Correct.
We were trying to be as efficient as possible with our resources. They did a search of everything in the county that was in a space that we could actually use, and we couldn't find anything bigger than 150,000 square feet that was out there, even not for sale. Even buildings that we could go in and ask them if they would move for us. So one of the challenges they had is where could we fit you? And so this, with the parking garages and with the buildings, they were saying about 6 to 7 acres would be necessary. Now, if we can find a location that's bigger, say 12 to 20 acres, then we could do flat parking and it would eliminate that need. But we wanted to plan for the scenario that we could only fit into a certain space that we could find. So it's kind of a worst case kind of point of view.
Right.
What would it take to get us there?
Thank you.
Commissioner Eggers?
Yeah, just I appreciate the numbers that we've gotten on the capital side. I think that's great. So I like the idea of, future values of our existing property and what that might yield in taxes. So I was just trying to think if there's ways to designate taxes generated from properties for debt repayment. Like, we don't know what kind of debt we're going to be accumulating and what that's going to add to our cost basis. I mean, I assume it's general fund money.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Well,
so,
portions of it would be any of the enterprise funds that go in that are part of this would then pay their proportionate share.
so that's part of the, when you're getting feedback, trying to understand what that looks like compared to what we have now. It's going to be an incremental.
Well, so there's two things I think we need to keep in mind. First of all, anytime that we pledge ad valorem taxes towards a bond, it's a referendum. I mean, it's general obligation of the county at that point.
No,
So,
that's not true.
well, no, I'm speaking only about ad valorem revenues in that case.
We're not going to referendum, guys.
No, and that's why I'm saying no, that we probably wouldn't set aside part of the ad valorem taxes for the.
Okay, back to.
That was the point I was trying to get to. Sorry about that. So what we would look at is other revenues within that could be offset by the increase in ad valorem. And we have the opportunity as we go on the next penny to talk about how that could support this as well. So it's a long-term plan that we need to think about, and we need to look at all the different sources of revenue that we could tap into. I would think of ad valorem as something that's going to increase the overall general fund to make room for it.
Hold on, Kevin, just a minute. Commissioner Latvala?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kevin, assuming that we trade in our waterfront views for Almerton and 19, have y'all looked into doing a phase-in plan and instead of doing 3 buildings at once, doing one at a time over several years?
Absolutely. That would come in the programming phase. When we think about what we need to move and when, we would actually build that into a phased approach.
And Barry, you mentioned renovations to our new building, or to our existing buildings. How much would that cost?
I think it's 146 million, is that right?
That is correct, 146.
You know, when you asked that question, months ago, we didn't know that answer, so it was a fair question to ask. And so, from this standpoint, obviously, we know the need for different space, but it really kind of turned into an economic development project of what could occur with these, Gulf views that where this property sits. And as you can see, for the long-term vision for, Clearwater, that would be significant. At the same time, averting spending good money on a still old building, because at the end of the day, you spend 146 million, you still have 14 buildings in fractured space and too much space because of the way it's set up in downtown Clearwater. So it's inefficient. Even if you can get your utility costs down through spending 146 million, it's still an inefficient utilization of space. We can significantly shrink our footprint and find efficiencies. You go in, if you have 14 buildings, okay, you got 14 people to greet people. You got, and so there's just so many things that we can get into finding ways of operating more efficiently in the design process by going to a new building. Now, if it was $20 million to renovate the buildings, well, then maybe you say it's not worth it. But what we found through this process that it's not. It's significant. It's 146 million to bring the existing buildings up to today's standards.
Did you have something, Commissioner Scott?
I do. Have we seen that plan, what consists of that 146 million?
Yes.
Have we seen that?
Have you sent that to the commissioners?
No, I'd be happy to do it. It's a 400-page report of all the issues that are in our current.
Is there an executive
There'll
summary?
be a test on it.
The executive
next
summary is
week.
it's bad and it costs a lot.
Well, something a little bit more
Yeah,
detailed.
I'll see what I can get to you, sir.
So, before you continue on, just for everyone's information, and Commissioner Seal isn't with us anymore, but she used to be the one that would always talk about institutional history and knowledge. from the time that I have come onto this commission, which in November will be 11 years, we have been talking about the building that we are currently in and how structurally unsound it is in terms of renovating it. And those conversations, for everyone's information, go back to the time when Fred Marquis left the county and retired. And so we've been talking about it for a very long time, number one. Number two, at the end of all the conversations that have gone on before this one today, the final, we always landed in the same place. Commissioner Justice may remember this. Regardless of what you do to try to renovate, bring things up to current code or standards, you put diamonds on a pig, it's still a pig. And so keep that in mind as we go forward, and just think about how long do you want to kick this can down the road before we finally realize something needs to change. Everything else in the world is changing. The way we do business is changing. And a lot of things that we used to do 11 years ago, we don't do anymore. So, you know, just keep that in mind, Commissioner Eggers.
That this building is functionally obsolete versus one that has structural integrity issues.
That's correct.
Okay, because I didn't want, that structural integrity issue kind of was hanging out there.
Not structural integrity. The building's not going to fall down, but
Right.
it's like with any maintenance of building, there are significant repairs and improvements that need to occur. There are structural issues, but not like the building's going to fall down.
Right.
Okay, and those are contained
Challenges
within
with
that.
the way the building is built.
Correct.
And the way changes would have to be done to it.
That's correct.
Okay.
It's not on
I
the
call that more
it's not on the
function-
condo
yeah.
inspection thing that,
Yeah.
you know,
We just left
we're
that
not setting
yeah.
aside money for.
Yeah, that's why I was, we just left that conversation. So functionally obsolete makes me think of the things that you're talking about, which
Correct.
just doesn't work anymore because there's too many walls to tear down. There's just, permitting issues are terrible and all of that. So that becomes functionally obsolete.
Correct.
Rather than structural integrity issues.
It needs new windows. It needs the
Yeah.
exterior of the building to be replaced. It needs a lot of different things, but the building structurally is sound.
Okay, Commissioner Peters?
So I wasn't going to go here, but as Barry said, the exterior of the building is bad. The windows are bad. And that building is a sick building. And we have not even addressed how many employees could be getting sick from that building. And I think the longer we wait, and I believe the county has waited too long to get out of that building or repair the building. And there's other financial repercussions that can happen if we don't act quickly or soon. And
That's the reason we're here, Commissioners. We want to move forward with this. Commissioners, you know, you asked some really good questions today. I'm embarrassed we didn't have the answers on getting to the numbers. But you can see, regardless, it makes all the sense in the world to move towards that. You're gonna approve a contract that's going to go into detailed design. We will answer those questions as part of that process, but we would like to move forward with beginning that process. And that would go into that detailed design. That would look at the site planning and those building issues. In the meantime, I don't know, do you have any, I forget, do you have more slides?
Just the one, which is the next steps.
Which is what I was covering.
Yep, exactly
So,
right.
yeah, and so the question is can we move forward? You know, our recommendation is this is both a cost-effective decision on moving to new buildings based upon what we've seen, and a huge economic development opportunity for City of Clearwater. And so we think on the totality, it makes sense to move forward. We'll get you the answers that you requested, and you'll be approving a contract that will move to this next phase that's going to be much more detailed than what we did. Except for adding up the numbers, I'm incredibly impressed with this consulting firm. They did a really good job of bringing all this together. And as you saw, You know, we, the first consulting report still had us in 500,000 square feet. This detail brought that down, you know, significantly. So going into that type of design and really talking about modern space and functionally the way we operate and how we can operate more efficiently makes this a real opportunity for the next generation, you know, in this building.
Did you have something? Okay. Go ahead.
Just real quickly, I would agree. I think it's prudent that we go to the next step and do the next stage of the design process and more, and maybe a little bit more solid numbers to look at. I'm certainly not, I don't think anybody here is ready to move forward on anything in terms of the final project cost, but at least I think there's a lot of work that still needs to be done, and it's only prudent that we do it. I mean, I can use that word again, that whether it's a functionally obsolete building, 14 of them probably. If you look at all 14 buildings in downtown, they're probably all functional obsolete. So any dollar that you expend is probably going to have to be at least 25 to 50% more to accomplish what you're trying to do. Any improvements because of the nature of the buildings. And I think it's only important for not only this generation, but as you say, the next couple, 3 generations, that we have a place that is more suitable. Having said that, numbers matter. So it'd be
they
nice
do.
to see what those numbers look like.
Just remember, yeah, Fred Marquis was coming out of college when this building was built, so, you know, he was here for a long time. Yeah, I completely agree, Commissioners. Now, you know, we also have land acquisition issues I've talked to you individually about. We want to move forward with land acquisition for possible sites, and so are you comfortable bringing back that? Because we'll answer your question, but we do want to bring that forward to you and really begin this process in earnest. And, you know, and so we'll answer that before we bring that to you.
Commissioner Latvala?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm in favor as well of going forward. But one thing I wanted to mention is that if we do sell these properties, that we make every protection possible, that these properties stay on the tax roll after they have been sold. So that way we recoup as much money as we can.
Commissioner Justice?
We agree.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I've been in favor of exploring this for 10 years, and as long as we could make the dollars work, you know, because the functionality, and really, how many buildings did we say we have downtown?
14.
So 14, but I would argue we have a couple more locations in Pinellas that we could also consolidate with places that we are at or that we lease in other parts of the county. So I think that should be completely explored. And depending on the site, you know, I've visited sites where everything was in one tower, and there's some great parts of that and some downsides to everyone sharing the same lobby space. I was in Pasco County a couple of months ago, and they really have a nice campus, and it's kind of what looks like they're envisioning here, where you have one building for administration, one building for services, and I thought it functioned incredibly well coming off of whatever road that was up in Pasco.
Little Road. Is it
Little Road.
Yep.
And so I think there's opportunities. And depending on sites, you know, if you buy a 30-acre site and you only need 10 acres, there's opportunity to sell back some of that for commercial development. So, no, I'm in favor of moving forward. Again, we really need to take the next step to make sure the numbers work, but the time has come.
Anyone else for the good of the order before we move on?
I support moving.
Okay.
If all of you haven't toured the Tower 1 over at the airport, which is the new facility for the airport administration folks, it is unbelievably effective and efficient in terms of what they've done over there. And that's just a good recent example of what the new kind of thinking could bring for us. So, go ahead, Kevin.
That's it.
Or Barry, whoever's got the
No,
phone.
I heard a consensus on moving forward. We're going to get you the responses that you need following this, but we will be bringing back action items for you, and we're going to move forward with this project in earnest.
Okay, is there anyone here that doesn't agree that we need to move forward, at least to get enough answers to make an intelligent decision?
just have a question. I agree, but I just have a question. I'm sorry, I was out there. He's trying to fix my computer.
Okay, well,
Did you all, I was listening in and I could hear most of what you said. Was there a follow-up to our consultants addressing us at some point?
Yeah,
I know that you guys are going to get the answer for us, but if they were supposed to be here today anyway, it would be nice if they were actually.
We can do that.
More questions may come.
Actually, they were watching me dance up here, and they sent a spreadsheet to Joe already, so we have an answer for you that I will get to you this afternoon. But
I'd like to see
You
it
weren't
before we
dancing.
pass it out this time, so
You weren't dancing.
give
you
us a
were
little
trying.
time before we respond.
but yes, we can make them available.
Yeah, just, so if it's any additional questions that come up. Thank you.
Okay,
And that contract for the next phase, you'll bring back to us?
I will.
Okay, great, thank you.
everybody good?
I
Great.
won't have to swim in my office anymore.
What?
I won't
All
have to
right.
swim in my office anymore. My windows leak.
Commissioners, moving on, if we can. So the next item that you had asked that we put on each one of the work sessions is any budget follow-up discussions. As you know, and we're going to go through the agenda here last, and the last item on that is the first public hearing for the 2024 budget. And so just an open question, if there are, we've met with you individually, if there are other issues you want to discuss as a commission, we have this opportunity or this time to do so.
Yes, Commissioner Flowers. Peters, I'm sorry. You have a question?
Well, I had my hand raised, but. Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah, my mistake.
All right.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Well, Barry, I appreciated how you started our work session today by thanking all the folks that have done so much work these past few days, probably the last week getting ready. I had a chance to tour be up at their war room, so to speak. So, and it was just amazing to see the teamwork. The sheriff's lieutenant was there working side by side with the chief. So on a smaller level, it was nice to see all of that working, and it really put me in a good mood, because otherwise I would have been in a grouchy mood, because anytime we talk about budgets, it's not exhilarating for me. I think, and I'm just going to leave it as simple as I can, we have a lot of folks in this county that are going to bear the brunt of any kind of tax increase. And that's what this is. It's a tax increase. And it's the people who can least afford it. And so I am obviously not happy about that. I toured economic development the other day by mistake because I was supposed to be speaking and that got canceled. But just listening to the vibrancy and energy and the outreach to businesses that are trying to make decisions on coming to a county. And so giving signals that say we're fiscally conservative here, we're fiscally careful, we're fiscally sound in what we do is really important as well. So not only does small millage rate increases, they don't substantially change the well-being of everybody out there, but I do think it sends a signal that says we need to try to hold the line. An 11% increase in tax dollars, and that's what I'm trying to get clarification on, because millage rate probably is somewhere around, a blended millage rate's probably somewhere around 6%. But then there's another piece that I'm learning about that increases that revenue above what 6 mills would do. Because 6 mills doesn't do what that 11%. So I'm just trying to make sure I understand that. But for me, any kind of millage rate reduction is always a positive thing. It sends a signal not only to staff, and it sends a signal to future commissions, it sends a signal to our residents that need the help the most, and it sends a signal to our business community. So having said that, I'll just ask if you could maybe talk a little bit about the revenue increases that this county is getting from an ad valorem standpoint, what you're proposing in the budget versus what we're having this year. So
Go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. Chris Rose, Office of Management and Budget. And budgets do exhilarate me, so thank you for the opportunity to be here. Thank you. Hey. So what the commissioner's talking about is the overall property tax roll has grown 11.7% in the countywide general fund property tax that we're generally talking about here today. The revenues have also grown by the same amount, about 11.7%, and they don't always grow that way. Every homesteaded property is capped at 3%. 3%. So anyone that had a homestead, that continues to have a homestead, 3% is the most that their property taxes would grow. A non-homesteaded would be capped at 10%, regardless of the type of property that's out there. So the commissioner's question is, well, how do we get to 11.7% growth on the revenue side? The two things I can offer at the moment, and I'm exploring it a little further, are new construction, which was very large this year. New construction is not subject to that amount, and change of ownership. So if a property sells, everything resets. The Save Our Homes does not apply to that new property. So those are the things that are generally driving what you're asking, Commissioner. I'm going to get a fuller explanation than that.
No, you're right, Chris. New growth was significant this year, and think about all the new people that moved here. That reset that, and so they get the full value. So somebody that moves and somebody's been here for 10 years and they're capped at 3%, they go to the full value of that property when they move here. And remember, if you transfer homes, you get to keep your exemption under Save Your Homes. But I would like to remind the commissioners that we've proposed reductions in 13 of the 21 tax rates. So we do have where we're reducing the tax rate in many. And the final piece being is the $40 million that are necessary to support the sheriff in both his operating budget and his capital budget needs. A couple of commissioners got an opportunity to tour our 911 center. And, we've had issues with staffing, and we talked about that just a few minutes ago in terms of emergency management and the importance of keeping qualified staff and being able to properly respond. It was unscripted, but we met with the floor supervisor up in 911, and last year we significantly increased our wages for our 911 staff. It wasn't to bring them above market or give them big raises. It was to where we're paying them equal to what Largo and Clearwater and St. Pete are paying for the like position. What happened, and I didn't know that until the gentleman responded, but he said he doesn't have turnover. And in fact, he's got classes for the first time in a long time that are coming in to be able to support. It takes about a year and a half to get them fully functioning operators and out answering calls. They become call takers before they become operators. But the big significant there is they're not doing forced overtime, which was causing a burnout. So they were working 60 hours plus through forced overtime just 18 months ago, and then they would get burned out, and so they quit and they go work at our utilities building as a call taker or something like that because they couldn't have any family time. And so we were constantly losing staff. And that 18 months supporting that raise has basically eliminated that problem. And so this budget also supports providing decent compensation for our employees to be able to eliminate those types of things that we've been dealing with.
Commissioner Scott?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Chris. As a follow-up question, when we met one-on-one, a month or so ago, I had a question on the safety and emergency services, the reserve requirement. There's $69 million in reserves there, and you indicated that the requirement that we have 25% there.
Yes, sir.
And we were going to have a follow-up conversation on that. I don't think we ever did. As to why is that, and is that? I think it would be good to kind of have an understanding of where all of the reserve level policies are with all of the various reserve funds that we have.
We can do that. The safety and emergency services, and you're really talking about the EMS fund in particular. The EMS fund has a 25% reserve policy built into it. It was built into the ordinance back when it was first created and has continued in that one alone. And it is for the 5-year duration of the six-year future outlook of the EMS fund. So we need to make sure that each of those years is meeting that 25%, not just the first year, but each of them. So we keep that in mind every year when we look at that fund.
So is that so if we suddenly didn't have any money coming in to fund that, we would take reserves to fund that?
We would, yeah, we would have to do something. We would have to make sure that,
Realistic?
I don't, Chris, Commissioner, I don't know the answer to the question. I really defer to Chris on this. But what you remember about a year ago, we had to modify our ambulance contract because of they couldn't hire anybody. Okay, we're going to be rebidding that contract.
That's correct.
This next year, and so that rebid contract, we expect to have a base of a much higher amount.
we do.
And it's going to be through that bid process. So we really need to get you hooked up with Jim Fogarty to go through all those EMS functions and how they do their planning for future cost. That would be important for you.
I want to make sure that we have those conversations, that we bring it back here to have too, because some of us need brush-ups.
Well-
And there's no reason to have 7 separate ones.
I
I'd rather
agree.
have it done here so we can hear each other's thought process.
I'll bring Jim Fogarty in here. Well, first, we'll answer your question, and we'll send it out to all commissioners, why we have the reserve levels and what those projections are for the next 5 years. But I'll also have Jim here because he's going to be bringing you a recommendation for rebidding. It's at the end of the contract period. And so he's going to be bringing a recommendation to you to do that. I think he's met with you, but I'm not sure.
And I'm not arguing the point of having reserves, but is it realistic to have enough reserve to fully fund 5 years of a contract? It seems a little.
So I may have misspoken. It's not that it's funding 5 years, it's just making sure that each year ends with a 25% in reserve. So forgive me if I didn't say it properly.
And how do we compare with other counties on that, too?
I don't know the answer to that.
I'd like to know that. And
Okay.
just
Certainly.
And just to kind of back up what Commissioner Egger said as well, is that every taxing authority that adds a little something to their, okay, maybe $5 here, $14 there, or $50 there, whatever, it all just adds up. So, you know, we need $56 million for a full rollback rate, and that may not be possible this year. But in a $3.8 billion budget, it's like 1.5 points. And I recognize it's not that simple, because it's not all general fund dollars, but in the big scheme of things, it's 1.5 points. So any wiggle room that we can find to provide whatever relief we can do, I think it's our responsibility to do that. So just as a final comment.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Peters?
Thank you. So, you know, Barry, you and I have talked, and I'm comfortable based on the unfunded mandates that we got and the needs of the sheriff and the salaries that we've done. Now, last year we did salaries too. So do you foresee that 2 years of salary increases have finally going to have us where we need to be, that we will be comfortable without having to do big increases like that again in the future?
Yeah, actually, last year we provided really it was a 3% and a what is it, 56 cents. So it was more like a 3.5 or 4%. It wasn't that significant, but I do believe it puts us competitive. Because what's also being built into the budget are things that aren't as easily seen. Is we've implemented career ladders for people that as they increase their skills, that they also get compensated for that. And so bringing the minimum wage up to where we can hire people to competitive to where they get a CDL, that they're able to get a CDL, and then we compensate them for that. We have those career ladders in place almost everywhere now. And so with this wage package and that, I think that puts us competitive in the market.
Okay. And so, my thought is we rolled back the millage rate, not to the full rollback rate, but we rolled it back 2 years in a row. We spent down a significant amount of reserves because I felt in the past that our reserves were more than they needed to be. So, but again, we had a lot of unfunded mandates, and the big ones were the
Florida retirement system.
with the Florida retirement system. So, my thought is that this year is the year that we kind of stay steady, get everything where it needs to be, and then next year, hopefully, we can look, as long as there aren't any big unfunded mandates that come down from the legislature again, because this year I think there were 4. between the supervisor of elections and that one there. I think there were 4 of them. So, you know, if that does not happen again next year, I think my thought is, of course, we don't know what the economy is going to do, but if the property values even level off or stay the same, or increase a little bit, not like they have been, I think we've kind of hit a plateau. I don't think they're going to keep increasing at the rate that they've been increasing, that maybe next year is a year that we do another. I mean, that's kind of what my expectations are, is that we kind of go where we are now based on the unfunded mandates, and then next year look and see if, based on revenues, if we can have another small rollback. Now, that said, Brian, the other cities have not done what we've done. They didn't roll back like last year, and they didn't roll back the year before, and other taxing authorities have not done that. Why property values were skyrocketing, and it was really filling their budget coffers a lot, where in the last 2 years we didn't do that. And so, so I think that we've been diligent and responsible in making sure our reserve levels were not too inflated, and rolling back the millage rate, because it has been difficult between COVID and everything, and inflation and supply chain issues and everything else. I think the last 2 years we've been very diligent. I think this year it was a lot of it's unfunded mandates. We don't really have an option. And then next year, my hope is, since we have done all this work to get caught up, that next year we can do another, you know, rollback similar to what we've done the last 2 years. And that's just where I'm coming from. Those are my thoughts on this.
Excuse me, Commissioner Flowers?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our budget is very complex, and I'm still having to learn how the lines move when we're talking about our fire districts, when we're talking about like the East Lake Library component piece, when we're talking about, of course, our revenue generating departments, when we're talking about the general administration departments, and then we're talking about our other constitutionals, where we're just providing them with their budget, but they have others that actually oversee how that is spent. So they make their presentation to us on what their needs are, and then we determine whether or not we're going to fund that. I'm not seeing trends. I serve on the board for HCA Hospital, and one of the things that we're looking at, even related to healthcare growth, is where are the numbers when it comes to people moving into our county. So we seem to be maintaining that 1,000-person move in. So I don't know if that's 1,000 families, but it's 1,000-person move in, which puts an increase on the services that are being requested. Sanitation, whether that's that we're contracting out to BFI or anybody else, our stormwater sewer services, what we're doing to try to or what we have done to enhance our water services by installing those meters that can be read more quickly, so that we can be more precise in getting customers what their billings are. I think that we were very strategic, and I'm glad that we got ARPA dollars so that we could move some funds around, that we were able to spend ARPA dollars, not our general revenue dollars, and then we could put some of our general revenue dollars into projects that were being delayed because we didn't have the money to get them done. Safety, such as sidewalks and things of that nature. And so, you know, I took all of that into account as I looked at the budget. Now, some of the pressures that our residents have, while they are taxpayers in Pinellas County, they're not things that the county generated. So we don't quite have the ability. We certainly can advocate, but we don't have the ability to change those outside stressors, such as the increase in food costs, which was a result of supply and demand because the increase of diesel fuel went up, and so truckers were not driving. We weren't getting supplies in more quickly, so the cost of the food that was available on the shelf is more. As a result of that, we had Tampa Bay food pantries and others requesting more from us because we provide those services through our support to nonprofits. So And I'm not going to repeat what Commissioner Peters said because all of that is accurate too. Everything that she said were notes that I had made. But I do know that I believe we have been very timely, certainly responsible with the dollars that we have, and trying to find ways that we can look for other funds to fund things rather than go out to borrow money, which some counties in South Florida have done, and they're finding themselves in a huge financial pickle. I think we've been very vigilant in that. And I also know that while we have those 1,000-plus people moving in, that is increasing the demand for what the expectation is from the services we can provide. And so, you know, those numbers are going to keep crawling. And so I'm supporting what has been presented. I had my conversations with you guys as well, so thank you very much. I appreciate that. And just trying to drill down to, for this millage rate, just what does that mean to each individual taxpayer that's paying this in the county? And what does that increase mean for each person, just for us, not looking at others? Commissioner Scott did bring up a real good point that other things are going up, you know, municipalities and things like that, and so they're getting hit with those. So he's right on point with that. I reached out to Mike Twitty the other day about some data that I was looking for. And so there's so many moving parts and pieces within the county, and there are expectations from residents that they will receive a certain level of service. The only way we can provide them with that level of service is by reinvesting the tax dollars that they provide to us. The costs are going up for everybody, including the county. Everything that we do, costs go up. And so we have to make a determination that if we were to do, which I'm not supporting at this time, I did support the small rollbacks we did last year and the year before and saw where that money was going. But we have to also ask ourselves, something that came to mind for me was when we were on the calls and other communities were looking for resources, boats and things to extract people. What if we had not utilized the dollars to invest in that so that we could then give those resources to the city of St. Pete to extract those people from the mobile home park who chose to stay even though we asked them to leave? But we had it, we gave it, they used it for the purpose. So I see that the dollars have been going where they are best invested. I understand that we're taking in additional revenue because of the housing market and the resale of property along with construction. But I also know that some of those corporations and businesses that are coming in, they're bringing in revenue, which is a whole nother issue because they're able to pay some higher wages, which then has a whole issue with the housing market and what we pay here locally. That's a whole nother conversation. But I'm supporting, for all of those reasons, just trying to weigh what are we getting for our dollars? What are we providing in service to the residents for the dollars that they're giving us? And are we being wise and financially responsible with those dollars? Now, if Barry was bringing some stuff that was like way on the east side and I couldn't understand it, I would be on another roll. And if that ever happens, I'll be on another roll. But for right now, where we are in this environment and what we're looking at for even future projects that we have on the books, I can support what has been presented for the departments, for the increases from our constitutionals, because they have increased their budgets and have asked us to increase what we avail to them. So I'm going to support to stay where we are. Thank you. I know that was long, but I just wanted to.
Commissioner Eggers?
Yes. So I don't know how we can continue to put budgets together that afford us an 11% increase in revenue. So this particular budget that we're looking at now, forget the use of reserves. The budget that we're looking at right now, what does it add to or take away from? What's the bottom line in terms of adding to reserves? So with the current, what you're proposing, are we adding to reserves with this budget, or are we taking, I'm not talking about the uses of the one-time cost that we're going to get into in a minute. I'm talking about this budget. Are we adding?
So I think I'm going to have to get back to you on that because I don't have it exactly.
Commissioners, this budget takes you down to the 20.8% reserve level.
No, but that's using the one-time.
It's using the one-time money.
I'm saying, take the one-time money out. I'm trying to understand.
But if you take the one-time money out, we're right at that 20.8%, which is our recommended reserve level policy.
That's correct. Yes.
So if we had no reserves right now, no reserves, and this budget itself right now that we're proposing on the revenue side and cost side, are we on a plus side? Are we adding to our reserves?
We're not adding to our reserves. We got to where we balanced the budget with our cost and our revenue,
Okay. So-
and we're not increasing the reserves. We had higher level reserves. We went through how we're spending those down for the 40 million for the building, and we are at that
And
reserve level policy.
Again, and thank you for saying, and that's why I'm really concerned about an 11% increase, needing that 11% increase that we're going to get. We need every penny of it to balance our budget. Think about that as we go forward in the next couple, 3 years. I mean, we're not going to get those 11% increases.
No, but we will, because you're not going to have an increase. This is a base level. This establishes a new base level budget
Right.
that will then continue, okay? It's not
called
projecting
I know.
higher levels of revenue.
We've talked about it, government growth, I get it.
Yeah.
And we're going to multiply on top of it, and then we're going to multiply on top of that again and again and again. I get it. I mean, but what I'm saying is when you're adding to that base level at 11%, that's a huge increase, huge. So I'm just saying, again, we're not talking 3 and 4% increase.
I do understand that.
So I'm just saying, and then we, at our reserve levels, had gotten up to 32% this year. As you started putting together the budget for this coming year, we're drawing it down to 20.8%.
Correct.
Plus some set-asides.
Designated. So just to clarify for people, I mean, so for instance, the Board of Election has to replace their voting equipment, okay? It's designated for that purpose.
I understand.
The
That's why
the jail management system in the sheriff's office, it's over $5 million. So we've designated that as a planned expenditure. And then the 40 million that we set aside for capital for doing this project we just talked about. That gets us down to the 20.8%. The fixed costs that you were talking about before. So let's just say we didn't have a revenue increase. We would be looking at massive cuts because the Florida retirement system put an additional, this is a state legislative mandate of over $17 million that we don't have any choice but to pay for. Okay, the sheriff has jail medical costs and food service costs for inmates that he doesn't have a choice but to pay for. We have health property insurance increases that have skyrocketed. We don't have a choice but to pay for. So the growth in this budget by and far is mandated. We are trying to take care of our employees, and that's, think about a CDL driver, and we're paying, $17, $18, $19 an hour, and you wouldn't hire them for that. You couldn't hire them for that. And we're trying to just get them up to where they're competitive, to where we stop having turnover each and every year in excess of 20% of our best and our brightest in our future. So this is a stabilization budget, but it does cost more based upon the mandates that we have. $40 million of this increase just goes to the sheriff. And it's significant in terms of salary increases, but when he loses people to Clearwater and St. Petersburg and Largo, that's what he's competing against, not even getting into what Tampa's paying. And so it is kind of a right sizing. It does cost money, but the majority of that has been mandated upon us.
And I had asked before about unfilled positions, and you made a comment about what we're doing with unfilled positions. Because we have, I'm assuming, 3 years ago when we were going into the pandemic, you eliminated a lot of positions that were on the books, so to speak, but that weren't being filled.
We eliminate, so to balance this budget, we've, in BCC departments, not constitutionals, okay, BCC departments, there are efficiencies built into this budget to get us to a balanced budget. So for instance, cost increases associated with contracts and things like that, we don't give a COLA, a cost of living increase, to our departments. Constitutionals we do because they have operational control. We make them find and absorb efficiencies within that. We look at positions that are vacant to see if we can eliminate those. All those types of decisions were reviewed as part of the building this budget to get us to a balanced budget. That's just to get us down to equal the cost today. And so we have looked at efficiencies. I provided you a list of additional reductions, but those are service level reductions. It's not free money. Like if we eliminate a position, I eliminate a position out in Kelly's shop, we fill those eliminated positions through contracts until we can hire people to be able to cut the grass, to be able to build, roads and things like that. So a lot of those vacancies are filled either through overtime or through contracts because it's a level of service that we provide to our residents, dependent upon the service area. So they're not just free empty positions.
So all the unfilled positions now are critically important to be refilled,
Correct.
and we just haven't been able to do it.
That's correct.
For a period of time. And what are those number of positions that we have?
So we're still collecting it. It's a very manual process, and I'll say we're getting it together. In this budget, we did pull out the amount of money that we thought was a natural, just the time it takes to fill the positions. And previously, it had been 100% of 100% of the positions, 100% of the year. So we put that together now as well. And by the way, I was remiss. You all received an email with answers to all the questions, almost all. You're right, the vacancy report is one that we're still working on. But, that equated to about 7 pages of single-space type of answers to the questions. So you've got it. I know you've all responded and had some comments on those. So
to answer your question, Commissioner, what Chris was talking about, if Public Works Department, if they have normal attrition, okay, of 5%, we budgeted them at maybe 96% of payroll, anticipating that they're going to have some turnover and that's going to occur. So they don't have all the money to pay for 100% of their positions. And we did that in trying to make this budget work because of the inflationary costs that we've had to try to absorb within our existing contracts. So that efficiency is already built in there. And then what we did is out of that, let's just say 4%, I'm rounding, but 4%, we set aside 2%, and that way we can move that around as maybe they reach 98%. And so we tried to do that. So there's some redundancy there, but we've already taken the amount of money that would be paid out as 100% staff filled positions. We've taken it out of the BCC department's budgets.
So we have no more unfilled positions than the normal time.
No, we did look, any position that was had been unfilled for a year or more was part of a budget discussion. The department had to justify any of those positions that had remained filled for an extended period of time. And so they went through, the analysts went through department by department, position by position as part of this budget review.
So then we don't have a problem with hiring then. We're fine except with the normal turnover exception.
That's part of the reason for the raise package is to keep us competitive.
Okay.
But that's, we're getting better at hiring and retaining, but this budget before you will help that.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Commissioner Justice.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be brief. I think Commissioner Peters hit it on the head on a lot of what she said as far as how we've dealt with the budget the last couple of years and how we're looking forward. And I appreciate specifically the comment about the other jurisdictions because while we were rolling back the rate, we had mayors and councils highly critical of us where they maintained their millage rate. They didn't roll it back at all. So I really appreciated that comment. And as we're looking forward to next year, and if we're thinking about a rollback or we're thinking about, I think it behooves the commission, either publicly or at very least with the administrator directly, to say, what areas are you willing to cut? what areas are you willing to see a reduction in service? Because that's what it would take to roll back the rate any further. I mean, that's what you have to decide. This is pretty simple. If you want something, you have to pay for it. If you don't want to pay for it, that's fine. That's a very reasonable position. But we have to start saying, okay, we're willing to do a little bit less level of service or a little less product or whatever it is in this area. And I think that behooves us to be able to stand up and say that as well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much for your comments, Commissioner Justice, and I am not going to be redundant. If I said anything else after all of you have had your opportunities, I'd only be repeating most of what all of you said. But I do want to commend Commissioner Peters for the comments that she made, because I totally agree that she has been right on point. So thank you for your very thoughtful comments, Commissioner Peters. I think we are in a place where we are free to adjourn our regularly scheduled
No,
workshop.
we have the agenda review.
Oh, yeah, agenda review. I am so sorry.
I'll be quick.
Okay.
So hang on. We're gonna fly. All right. So items 1 through 10. Well, let's say 1 through 10 are pretty perfunctory. You do have one plat, private residential subdivision. Item number 11 is a contract with Tran USA for our central energy plant. That's right back here. It's a 7% reduction compared to the previous contract. I point that out. You haven't seen that. You haven't seen that in a while. But through a bid process, it's a 7% reduction. So, yes. Revisions to the capital project funding guidelines as recommended by the Tourism Development Council. There's 4 items there. They're listed out as part of your packet. This is item number 12.
12.
Okay. On item 13 is MSTU for the Palm Harbor Historic Society, $20,000. They have wooden porches, and this will provide construction documents and design documents to restore this back to its history. This is only for the construction documents and things, though. Okay. Yeah. Correct? What? Yeah, but it's just construction documents. It's not redoing it. Oh, it is construction too? Oh, it's a replacement of the front door. Okay, doesn't say that. All right, next is as an MSTU for Palm Harbor Merchants Association, $18,695. This is for purchasing 2 generators, 10 by 10 event tents. This is so they can do events in downtown Palm Harbor. Item 15 is a first option renewal with PEMS. This is our mental health provider.
So I have a question for that, if you don't
Okay.
mind. So we're paying, and are we paying like increased salaries or anything like that in that budget for them?
We're providing a 5% cost of living adjustment.
Okay, all right, and just, probably not the place or anything, but if you all have not toured PEMS, and since we have a big contract with them, I recommend you do it. That building is so old, and they are building a new CSU for children, and I don't know if that was ever even available for Penny or anything like that,
No.
which is unfortunate. And I assisted them in getting some congressional money, but when you go into an adult CSU, if you have not seen this, you need to. But then you see children sitting with adults because the facility is not updated enough to meet the needs of children. And so children are in this facility and adults can see and hear them, which should not be the case, and it is. And the last time I was there, I took Congressman Bilirakis' staff through there, and there were 2 youth in with the adults because they were too dangerous to be with the kids. But you've got people who are a danger to themselves or somebody else, who are children, sitting with adults that are a danger to themselves or something else. And so I know that isn't a county facility. I get all that. But I really think if you have not been there to see it, you should go see it. Because this is where we're taking our most vulnerable people in the most vulnerable time in their life. And I think as a county that should become somehow a priority on our list, that change somehow. Not sure how, but I'm not sure how, and I'm not saying that we're the responsible ones to do that. I certainly, I gave them all my campaign money to help them, but, I think I think that our citizens, especially with the rise of mental health crises that have been going up since COVID, that and I know this county is doing a lot on mental health services.
Yes.
I get that probably more than most counties, other than Miami-Dade, who has a designated tax for it. But I just think if you guys haven't gone, I highly, highly strongly recommend you go and tour it and see where we're taking people during their very most vulnerable time in their life. And I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks.
All right, sounds like a beginning of a capital campaign for them. But item number 16 is a grant funding agreement, Florida Department of Emergency Management. This is disaster relief funding associated with Hurricane Nicole. As you can see, where these things go back a while. Predates me. Item 17 is this is our recommendation. Yeah, you can discuss it on Tuesday. This establishes a reserve level, as we discussed before, at 20.8%, with just 2.5 months of recurring revenues.
Commissioner Eggers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Maybe it's our legal folks can weigh in, not today necessarily, but when we have the conversation. So the recommended by the GFOA organization was at 16.7%. Is there a way, if we reduce that reserve amount, but people want to keep some reserves, can we designate some of those funds for a catastrophic reserve, or where we set the money aside and not just let it be available for general fund overruns?
Well, it wouldn't be available, it'd have to be one-time use, okay? So if you reserve that, if you took that down to the 16 point whatever percent, then it would become, then we could use that for one-time purposes. So we could, for instance, put it towards capital, which would reduce debt associated with the new construction that we're going to do.
Yeah.
Or you could set it aside for disaster relief out on the beaches, but it'd have to be one-time use.
No, I understand that. What I was thinking about is just, alternate opportunities to use it to, when we have these, what we just went through.
Oh, I see.
And people are saying, I've heard the comments that, well, we're a coastal community and we need these extra reserves above the required amount. And if we can pool those, protect those funds for those uses and not for other uses.
We could do that. We could set aside we could, again, by code, it's all part of reserves, but like we've done with the building fund, we could set up a disaster, emergency fund or something.
All right.
And restrict its use.
Restrict its use, obviously being paid for by or approved by this group here, this body here.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm not saying I'm there yet, but I just want to make sure I understood that
Sure.
ability to separate. We can separate the, Don? Is that? Okay, no, we're just talking about this ability to separate funds and designate them for specific uses.
Sorry,
Just
yes.
by resolution, but
Well, by resolution or ordinance, yes, you could set those aside. If the board policy is such, the county administrator is essentially directed by your policy, so.
Okay. Thank you.
item 18 is purchasing the Whitesell property. This is adjacent to the Botanical Gardens. This has been a long time option. We had an option of first renewal and finally have the opportunity for the purchase of that property. Item 19 is amending the county investment policy, and the proposals are listed within your packet, minor modifications to that. We go to county attorney.
Item 20 is proposed initiation of litigation in the case that's in your packet. 21 is also a proposed initiation of litigation. If you have any questions on those, please see me, and we will get our staff together to answer any of those questions. Item 22 is a resolution approving the early extension of the 2023 tax rolls as necessary for the tax collector to get tax bills out. And I do not believe we will have any county attorney reports.
24th County Administrator's Report, I will have a report. I'll report out, obviously, on the hurricane response. Item 25 are appointments to the Youth Advisory Committee. Then Commissioner New Business and reports. And then the final item for the public hearing for the night, which is adopting tentative millage rates and budgets. This is the first public hearing.
Thursday.
It is.
Thursday.
I think so, is it?
Yep.
I haven't looked that far in advance. I
it's
tried,
not your
I
normal-
tried to make it to today.
It's not our normal Tuesday, I don't believe.
Is it Thursday? Okay. I'll look over to Della. She tells me what to do, so. All right, and that's it.
Okay, Commissioners, if you would indulge me, please, I'd like to take a 5-minute break and then ask you all to come back for a discussion among just the commissioners. The only staff is going to be Barry and Dawn, if you're available, for, 20, 30 minutes, hopefully max. Please. Talk about the floor. Well,
Yeah,
He'll be here.
Commissioner, yeah.
that's why I
Commissioner-
asked Dawn to stay.
For Commissioner, pursuant to Commissioner Egger's question, the discussion, as I understand it, is to just be about administrative issues surrounding operations on the 5th floor.
Correct.
For county BCC and BCC staff. So just for the purposes of the Sunshine Law, so no one's confused, it's a limited discussion on something about which this board would not be voting and only on the administrative
Correct.
issues internal.
And you're here to keep
And
us
I will
straight.
be, and I will be here to help.
And we will have board records. They were recorded. This is not it's not a public meeting, but they were recorded. That way we can always say no one was violating sunshine.
Okay? All right, so we'll take a 5-minute break, and then please come right back so we can get our thoughts together. Thank you.